Charles River plays a critical role in metropolitan Boston. Millions of people access it annually. We use it for canoeing, even swimming, rowing, sailing, as a visual counterpart to the built environment. It's part of the natural habitat, even though it's shaped by the hand of man. It's an important open space that people can use for relaxation, enjoyment. If you go out a little bit west of the city, the river is transformed from an urban river into something that would be perfectly at home in Vermont, with lots of wildlife, great blue heron, turtles, ducks, of course, lots of different kinds of fish, muskrats, the whole range, and the habitat is just gorgeous. Every year, people of the metropolitan Boston area take advantage of that by going onto the river and using it for recreation, enjoyment, bird watching. It's a very important part of the urban and suburban experience around the city. The Charles River played an important economic and public health role in the history of the city. During the 17th, 18th centuries, the city of Boston started putting mill dams on the river, which slowed the current to the point where it was a reeking cesspool, filled with all kinds of pollution, every imaginable type, including human waste. Those mill dams turned into roads. For example, Beacon Street in Back Bay was originally a mill dam, and ultimately when the Back Bay was filled in, Beacon Street became a roadway we use today. So the river has played a role in shaping the city, but at the same time it was the recipient for waste and trash. Some of the causes were combined sewer overflows flowing into the river. In fact, that was a serious charge. An increase in traffic and wash of non-point source pollution into the river became a big factor in making the river, again by the 1960s and 70s, breathing a real mess. Clean Water Act was a struggle to get that act passed, and that act prohibited wholesale dumping into the river of industrial waste streams, and it also carried with it a public education component that made people aware that the river is fragile, that you need to take care of it. 1980s and increasingly in the 1990s, various municipal and governmental agencies began to focus very strongly on cleaning up the river.
Charles River Watershed Association is a nonprofit environmental group. We are a science and advocacy organization. Our mission is to preserve and protect the entire 308 square mile watershed of the Charles River. Early on in our work, one of the major accomplishments was CRWA advocated to the Army Corps of Engineers to look for, again, green infrastructure solutions to flooding problems that were occurring in the Charles. So what they did was, instead of building dams or canals, which are, or seawalls, which is traditionally what the Army Corps of Engineers or other government groups may look at those types of solutions for flooding, CRWA convinced the Army Corps to look at green infrastructure, so wetlands and preserving wetlands, which are essentially like sponges, great at soaking up extra water and holding it to reduce flooding. We also, when we can, implement solutions on our own, if it's things like changing stormwater management practices from just using pipes to collect runoff and take it to the river, to implementing green infrastructure solutions, so things like rain gardens. We've worked with some communities to build rain gardens or build what we call green infrastructure systems that collect stormwater runoff. So we worked on reducing what's called combined sewer overflows. That's when you have a pipe that's carrying both stormwater runoff and household sewage waste. And when these pipes fill up, like on a very rainy day, they fill up with stormwater runoff, they overflow and basically dump raw sewage into, be it the Charles or Boston Harbor. So CRWA advocated fiercely when the MWRA, the Massachusetts Water Resource Authority, was developing their CSO control plan. We advocated fiercely for reductions to the CSO volumes that would be going into the Charles. Obviously that improves water quality because you have less raw sewage, which has a lot of bacteria, viruses, other nasty things in it going into the water. We worked with EPA to find illegal cross connections, so places where maybe a sewer pipe is actually illegally or mistakenly connected to a stormwater pipe. So finding those and fixing those, making sure that the sewage is going where it should and the stormwater is not getting sewage contaminated in it. Recently, CRWA started what we call our Blue Cities program. Our Blue Cities program looks at treating stormwater runoff in a more, well, currently it's untreated, so it looks at treating it, but it also looks at trying to restore the natural water cycle. So when we build our cities, we typically throw off our water cycle, basically turn the water cycle on its head. So you have precipitation, which in a forest would typically infiltrate into the ground, get sucked up by trees, and either evaporate back into the air or transpire through trees back into the air. In a city, you pave everything over, and you often reduce the amount of trees you have. So water can no longer go into the ground. Water is no longer getting taken up by trees and transpired back into the air. So basically what you're doing is reducing your infiltration down into the ground and increasing your runoff. So you get a lot of stormwater runoff, not very much groundwater infiltration. So at our Blue Cities program, we look at how can we attempt to restore that natural water cycle in our urban environment, since a lot of the watershed lands for the Charles River are pretty urban. I think a lot of cities are changing the mindset that, well, if this water body's next to a city, it's going to be dirty. That's not the mindset anymore. I think people are looking to find solutions for how we can have vibrant, economically healthy, great destination, great places to live cities without impacting water quality in a negative way. Was recently awarded the Tees International River Prize, which is a prize given by the International River Foundation. They're a group in Australia. Entries from all over the world The Danube and the Thames, for example, are previous winners. So this is a great achievement. We were given the award in 2011, marking the cleanup of the Charles and how much progress has been made. The fact that the Charles is such a success story as far as how much improvement has happened in the Charles certainly is something that Boston and Eastern Massachusetts as a whole is proud of and should be proud of. One problem sometimes we face with having had such a drastic and impressive cleanup is that people get of the opinion, well, okay, it's clean enough, we did enough. I would like to see it cleaner. Certainly, clean enough for swimming, clean enough that I would have no problem taking my child out on a boat, that I would have no concern about that.
I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you about my town. I'm gonna tell you a big fat story, baby. It's all about my town. Yeah, down by the river, down by the banks of the River Charles. That's what's happening, baby.
I grew up with the Charles River. I love the Charles River. I use it for canoeing, for kayaking, for running, for bicycling along the edge. I enjoy just looking out over the river. And I treasure it as a part of my life here in Boston.
It's important that people take a minute to think about how important the river and the fact that it's clean and the opportunities it allows because it is clean. How important that is to our community, and what it says about our community that we value that.